And the elections are over. Dance for democracy over. Are the parties over as well? INEC is threatening to deregister political parties that made a poor showing during the elections, from the presidential to the state, National Assembly, all the elections, where political parties, the smaller political parties, failed to make an impression. Now, that is causing a lot of wrangle among these smaller political parties who are saying, INEC, do you have the powers to do that? Do you even have the right to do that? To have this conversation right here in the studio, I have someone who it was quite, a lot of people saw a lot of him during the presidential elections, although some may regard him as a member of a smaller political party. Tokwe Fashua, welcome to the show. He is the presidential candidate of the ANRP, Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party. Welcome, Tokwe.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Good afternoon.
And we have our legal practitioner in the person of Achille Williams. Welcome, Williams.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, Tokwe, what was your thought when you heard this from INEC? First of all, they say parties that weren't able to win at least a local government in the presidential elections or a council during the governorship elections.
You know, I mean, it was very interesting because I think they sneaked in that law. I mean, today I'm reading the newspapers online this afternoon, and there's a news item floating around that Buhari rejected about 7 new bills.
Yes.
Making it about 20 bills he has refused, you know, but he signed this one on a double, and that's like in June last year, because they weren't interested in the democracy. A lot of those guys are just interested in the power. So between himself and the Senate, they kind of smuggled this in and, signed the thing into law, the amendments into law. I mean, there's so many things that need to be amended in this country. But what we see is a scenario where they're just interested in how can we short-circuit the development of democracy in Nigeria. I mean, the first question I would ask INEC is, do they think this thing they just conducted is an election? Now, that's where, you see, if you believe it's an election, I've heard even this morning from an INEC commissioner admitting all of the fracas that happened all over the country, especially in Rivers. A
lot of them were well documented by election observers.
What happened in Kano State, the rerun, the so-called supplementary, where it was all about thuggery and all. Do they call that an election? So now, if they really want to judge how the parties can perform, they should try and conduct a proper election. Not all brigandage and killings and thuggery and what have you, and then you call that an election.
Williams, you seem to agree. You've been nodding your head. First of all, does INEC have the power, the legal authority to deregister political parties that they have already registered, that were on the ballot during elections? Do they have that power?
Oh, considering the constitution, to an extent, INEC has power to do that if they did not comply with respect to the constitutional provisions.
Please explain to us these constitutional provisions that gives them the authority to do that.
The Constitution in section 226 lay down the provisions, the guidelines, things you need to do prior, which if you did not do that, you can be deregistered. That, for example, issue of receiving fund from an international body, you have to notify INEC for that. Or maybe you did not comply with respect to a particular thing, maybe sending your annual reports as required by the Constitution. These are the areas which you can, INEC, it can be, clear to deregister.
But a situation where INEC says you made a poor showing at the elections is not grounds for deregistering.
No, it is not. It is not. It is not. It is contrary to section 40 of the Constitution, which mandates everybody have a right
association.
Yes, right of association, and also to belong to a party of his own interest.
Let's talk about the importance of these smaller political parties, because during the elections, a lot of people saw it as really a contest between the two main political parties, APC and PDP. But then you had another 80-something political parties functioning at different levels in different elections in this country. What is the function of these smaller political parties? Let me start with you again, Williams, before I come to talk about Joshua.
Yeah, considering the multi-election parties system, it's just because of the way our constitution has made it. During the Gani Fawemi time, when he was like clamoring for people, for us to have another political party. Come to think of it, the YPP, Ifeanyi, he was being denied from 2 political parties. He tried coming out from this thing, but he went there and won. Sometimes the small political party give a privilege to some people that have popularity, that have what it takes, you know, to govern, to be in a particular position. But for one thing or the other, they are being deprived. When they form such small political party, you see them coming out. And people these days follow, they no longer follow party. They look at individual.
So the smaller political parties give certain individuals an opportunity to be seen.
To showcase.
This opportunity that major political parties may not give them in the first place. Tokwe Fashra, some people have actually said that these smaller political parties are just out there to increase their CVs. People want to run for political offices, especially the presidential that we saw. All sorts of political parties, they just want to have it in their CV. They ran for the presidency. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, people can say whatever it is they like to say, you know. You know, some people have this attitude: if they're not involved, then it has to be rubbish. You see, we're all private citizens of this country. Within our rights, we stepped out. We started putting political parties together to the point that people felt they needed to run for presidency. For everybody that was running for presidency in all of the parties, all but one, there's only one party that presented only one person for presidency. For the rest of them, they had people go running for governorship, for Senate, for House of Reps. And then, of course, there's that focus on the top. So, why are you running for presidency? Why aren't you running for the other position? But I tell you, listen, we have people running for the other position. Why aren't you supporting them? Or you think that you just don't want to see anybody up there? But there's a reason why we're running for that thing up there, because part of what we are doing is to demystify politics in this country. Listen, guys, listen to me. You heard me during the political process, during the campaign, but you're going to still continue to hear me. And a lot of the policy positions I was pushing on the economic front, some of them have been implemented right now. For example, I was the one talking about palm oil, comparing palm oil to crude oil. I was the one talking about growth rates of the economy. So the fact that there's so many political parties coming in the fray, and I see quite a few more there, you know, to a large extent, is a cry for help. Our people say you can't beat a child and command her not to cry. You can't beat a child, okay? And you know, so the point is that the Nigerians are saying that, younger Nigerians are saying that, listen, enough already. And we've been led by the nose by some of those very old people who's been around forever. And even these so-called two parties that we talk about, they were started and funded by the government. Funded by the government. We're not talking about 1 billion naira. We're not talking about 2 billion naira. We're talking about hundreds of billions given to these parties. Why would they not be everywhere? So you have to start from somewhere. But hey, if you're going to have a level playing ground, then give us the money as well and see the magic. If you give us the money, you're going to see the magic that will perpetuate in this country on a positive. And I must say this quickly, Gloria. If the younger guys hadn't come up this time, the entire election will simply be about bribery, about thuggery, about vote buying, about killings. A lot of that was seen in this election. We were the only ones who came and insisted on some level of debate. APC, PDP shunned all the debates when it mattered, you know, but we were the ones talking about ideas, and I believe that we're adding a lot of value to the system.
All right, let me put this across to both of you. During the collation period of the elections and the results, it was very clumsy, to be very honest with you, and some have attributed it to the fact that there were about 91 political parties, and then some even said that it was difficult to vote. It was difficult to vote because the ballot paper was so long, a lot of people didn't even know who they were voting for. What do you say to that?
If you ask me, you see, if people, there's one thing, you can get irritated by the fact that, oh, there's so much, the thing is so long and all that. What reaction do you have to the fact that Nigeria has 13.2 million children carrying bowls up and down, out of school, a future jeopardized twice over? What do you have to say to the fact that there's 91 million people in extreme poverty? What do you have to say to the fact that Nigeria is the most unequal country on earth, performing the worst? What do you have to say to the fact that we have even open defecation, the second highest in the world? I'm saying that people should focus on issues. Oh my God, I don't like the fact that this thing is so long. That's a non-issue. That's a secondary issue. What matters the most is that it's that long because people are pushing forward to say, no matter the odds, I personally will say, we don't have to be president, but hey, we've got something to say. All right, Williams. And that's what matters the most. Okay,
Williams, Ugo Chinyere said, yes, he is the spokesperson for the CUPP. He has condemned this very much. Ugo Chinyere Ikenga, he actually said, even if those premise, even INEC's premise of, okay, you didn't perform very well, you have to get this percentage of the numbers during the elections, even if you're to go by it. According to him, a lot of state governors have refused to have local government elections. So how actually do you get those percentages to say this particular party didn't do very well when all the elections haven't been done? Now, does he have an argument if he were to challenge INEC based on that? Some have said not really, but do you think he has an argument?
You are referring to him?
I'm referring to you because Ugochinyere is also a lawyer.
Okay. He has a right over what he's talking about, considering the fact that INEC considered those parties before they were being registered. And during the course of registration, they did not look at whether the time frame or the large, considering the number and other things. They met the requirements and they were being registered. That means that what? They have the right to maintain at what level? Both the governorship, the presidential seat, or even the councillor or the, what's it called, House of Rep. Wherever position they want to put in a person, they have that right. What is important is that if INEC doesn't want such number to be focused, what INEC should do is to do what? To remove the issue of funding that of political parties. Once INEC take it off, let's see if any party that can be able to sustain on its own resources, that means that the person is what to be. But if INEC continue to pump money into all these small political parties, as they are referring to, the system will keep increasing.
So you're saying one of the reasons these smaller political parties are even into it is because INEC is going to give them money.
Yes.
Well, they're not giving us money for now. When we were set up, it was very clear they had an electoral amendment which says they shouldn't give money. The constitution says you may give money.
Mobilize them.
The electoral act says you don't give money. We said no.
Money?
Okay, not a dime. Not one dime.
Not your party or other smaller political parties?
Other small parties, none of them have been funded. None. But what I'm saying is that APC was AD before, as AD, as AMPP, as PDP, as Labour Party, the ones that came in 1999, they've been given hundreds of billions of naira. And so
they've always had this money.
Always had the money. I mean, why won't you be everywhere? Most of that money went into people's pockets anyway, and that's why they're the ones oppressing us around now, doing big man all over the place. If you're going to toy with the franchise and the sovereignty of political parties as enshrined in the constitution of this country, section 2 of this country, you have to ensure you have a level playing ground. You don't just wake up from the wrong side of your bed, having conducted a sham of an election, which initially we are cooperating with them to say, okay, let's see, it's not INEC's fault, we know it's the politician's fault, but INEC cannot ride on the charade that was sponsored and by these so-called politicians, especially the ones in the two big parties. You are riding on that to claim they're not coming to equity with clean hands. That's what I'm saying.
All right, let's look at this scenarios. We know that, as a matter of fact, in India there are up to 2,000 registered political parties.
In India, Africa, exactly. We've tried to tell them.
Over 600 registered political parties. You've got
Africa.
Egypt, you've got Libya.
In the UK, about 48. In the US, we have almost 50 political parties. You don't have
registered.
to claim national.
Exactly. That was what I was about to ask.
The problem we have here is INEC. INEC is the problem we have in Nigeria.
Why?
When INEC wants to do the needful, our election system will be perfect.
Can we do what they do in India and in a country like India, Canada, and so many other countries where they actually have national parties, regional parties?
They can.
And can we practice more of that? Instead of saying we're deregistering,
let me tell you, listen, Gloria, listen. APC and PDP are not written into the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As they came, they too must go. 35 years before now, we were talking about UPN and MPN. 23 years before, we were talking about SDP and NRC. 55 years before now, we're talking about AG and MPC and NCNC. They too must come to pass. The way we're trying to do it now, we're trying to solidify them into the structure of this party, minding the fact that they are one and the same. You've got guys dashing from one to the other. Once they lose here, they go there to the other. Come on. We cannot solidify this into the reality of what is called Nigeria today. It won't work. it will not work.
All right,
you understand? That's why it's important for new political expression, because where we are going as a nation, we haven't got there yet. So we must continue to have expression, new ideas, new players coming into the fray, and then we'll know that we're getting somewhere.
And of course, according to Tokwe Fashua, the reason for the smaller parties is for new expression.
Absolutely.
For more people to have an opportunity to learn more about politics, express themselves politically, and get their ideals practiced. If it's just that, you know, get mentoring if it's possible, especially for those people who cannot get them in the big parties where there is some serious politics going on as well. This has been Parties Over here on Roots TV Nigeria. All I want you to do is to go to the comment section of this video and give us your thoughts on this. INEC plans to deregister smaller political parties. Is it going to be good for the polity or really bad for the polity? My name is Gloria Oji Modi. You stay right here with us.